Psychology and Sports. In this chapter, we will study definition and importance of psychology in physical education and sports. Define and differentiate between growth and development. Developmental characteristics at different stage of development. Adolescent problems and their management. Define learning, laws of learning and transfer of learning. Emotion. Concept, type and controlling of emotion and recapitulation. Introduction. He did not focus. He was so tensed that he could not play well. She's so good, but she cannot handle the competition stress. I had worked very hard, but wasn't mentally prepared. These are all comments frequently used to describe athletic disappointments. Sports psychology is a proficiency that uses psychological knowledge and skills to address above issues. Let's study different aspects of sports psychology in this chapter. Definition and importance of psychology in physical education and sports. The word psychology comes from two specific Greek words, psyche, which means soul, and logia, which means the study of. So, psychology means the science of soul. With the passage of time, this meaning was enhanced and now it is called the science of behavior. Definition of psychology. According to Walter Boers Pillsbury, psychology is the science of human behavior. According to Robert S. Woodworth, psychology deals with the activities of the individual in relation to his environment. Meaning and definition of sports psychology. Sports psychology is an interdisciplinary science. It draws on knowledge from biomechanics, physiology, kinesiology, psychology, etc. It deals with the study of impact of exercise on human body, health, performance, etc. It also deals with the application of principles of physics to sports. Due to its importance, it is necessary for us to know the meaning of sports psychology. According to Robert N. Singer, sports psychology explores one's behavior in athletics. According to K. M. Burns, sports psychology for physical education is that branch of psychology that deals with the physical fitness of an individual through his participation in games and sports. In short, sports psychology is the study of behavior and various psychological aspects in sports. Let's study importance of sports psychology in next slides. Importance of sports psychology. The specialized field of sports psychology has developed rapidly. Sports psychologists can teach skills to help athletes and improve their performance in the following ways. Sports psychology can improve physiological abilities such as strength, speed and flexibility, etc. It helps in the understanding and modification of behavior of athletes. Sports psychology plays a major role in the learning of physical movements and actions of the muscles. Sports psychology helps in balancing the arousal of emotions that helps in the improvement of performance. The knowledge of sports psychology may be helpful to sports person during the stress, tension and anxiety. Sports psychologists enhance the willpower to win in the players and help in his or her growth and development. But do you know? Define and differentiate between growth and development. There are physical, social, emotional, spiritual, and intellectual dimensions to individual growth and development. Teacher as well as parents must have basic knowledge of growth and development. Definitions of growth and development. Growth and development has specific meanings and both are related to each other. Growth denotes increase in physical size of a child. Development is progressive acquisition of various skills such as head support, speaking, learning, etc. According to Herlock, development is not limited to growing larger. Instead, it consists of a progressive series of changes of an orderly, coherent type towards the goal of maturity. Between growth and development. Growth and development are two terms generally used collectively. These differences are the following. Growth is identified as quantitatively, while development may be measured in the progression of the human functions and skills. Growth is termed as a physical change, whereas development is said to be physical, social, and psychological change. Increase in weight, height, etc., but development is the process of developing skills and capabilities. Development does not necessarily take place along with growth. Development describes the changes in the organism as a whole and does not list changes in parts. Growth does not continue throughout life, but development continues. So in short, growth and development go together, but at different rates. Test yourself. The word psychology is the combination of two Greek words, psyche and logia. Psyche means soul and logia means A. Science, B. Breath, C. Spirit, D. Origin. The answer is A. Science. Explanation. The word psychology comes from two specific Greek words, psyche, which means soul, and logia, which means the study of, research. So, psychology means the science of soul. It is the science of behavior and mind. Development characteristics at different stages of development. Growth and development go side by side, and both have profound effects upon each other. Growth is a part of development, but is limited up to certain age. According to Herlock, development is not limited to growing larger. Instead, it consists of a progressive series of changes of an orderly, coherent type towards the goal of maturity. It's a time to discuss the stages of child growth and development in the coming slides. Infancy. It is the stage from birth to the end of 2 years of age. In this stage, a child jumps, walk and learn to talk. A child starts learning about simple social concepts. The curiosity drive the child also increases. Child learns motor skills such as walking, talking, jumping, running, throwing, etc. Childhood. This stage begins from 3rd year and ends by the end of 12th year. Children spend most of their time in playing. Language skill is developed and learns new words. Children are able to adjust their behavior in the society. They have the best motor learning ability. Adolescence. The term adolescence typically refers to the period between ages 12 and 19. It is a stage of complex changes. Many physical changes take place spontaneously. The height, weight, bones and other organs begin to mature. To criticize and take decisions are developed. They demand respect, dignity and independence. Confidence is developed, which make them to make decisions about their future. Children try to understand and to solve complex issues. Children have interest to participate in dancing, trekking, sports, etc. The performance in various sports improve at a faster rate during this stage. Phobias or fears can be from material objects, meeting with people, talking to strangers, etc. On next slides, we are going to discuss some common problems and their solutions of adolescent. Problems and their management. The word adolescence is derived from the Latin word adolescere, that means to grow to maturity. It's a period of uncertain beginning and ending. According to A.T. Gershild, adolescence is a span of years during which boys and girls move from childhood to adulthood mentally, emotionally, socially and physically. It is the stage between childhood and adulthood. Problems of adolescence. Many bodily or physical changes take place. Stress, tension and strife are common. Children may also want to try new things and take risks, resulting in careless behavior. Their dressing, hairstyle, and sense of fashion also change. Easily availability of cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, etc. may increase the attraction. Pressure to perform academically and obtain college admission can be stressful and make them moody. Unhealthy eating habits prevent them from getting the nutrition they need. Addiction to cyberspace also cuts short their physical activities, resulting in an unhealthy and sedentary lifestyle and poor academic performance. It's a matter of fact that the adolescence is an age of struggle, tension, and anxiety. Their problems should be managed and addressed on time by the methods given on next slides. Management of problems. The following suggestions can be beneficial for the management of different problems. An adolescent should be provided proper education about the physical changes. Teachers and parents should be able to understand the psychology of an adolescent. Indulging in a creative activity can help them channelize emotions of an adolescent. Encourage an adolescent to talk and be honest. Enroll them in activities that encourage them to interact with others. Teacher and parents should provide sex education to adolescents so that they may not depend on unreliable sources. Teach them life skills and the importance of compassion. An important thing to remember is that learning can involve both positive and negative behaviors that is explained on next slides. Define learning, laws of learning, and transfer of learning. Learning is the process of acquiring knowledge, behavior, values, skills, etc. According to J.P. Guilford, we may define the term very broadly in saying that learning is any change in behavior resulting from behavior. According to G. Murphy, from this point of view, it would be legitimate to regard learning as modification both of behavior and the way of perceiving. The various psychologists have defined learning in different ways. However, they concluded learning as continuous process, universal, change in behavior, adaptation and adjustment, new organization of experience. Thorndike was one of the elderly psychologists who tried to establish and interpret laws of learning. All the same, these laws can be understood by studying the next slides. Laws of learning. Edward Lee Thorndike in the early 1900s postulated several laws of learning that seemed generally applicable to the learning process. Educational psychologists have identified several principles of learning, also known as laws of learning. These laws are divided into two categories: primary laws of learning, secondary laws of learning. Primary laws of learning. Edward Lee Thorndike was a professor of American psychology who developed a series of laws about trial and error learning. The first three laws are called the primary laws of learning: the law of readiness, the law of exercise, the law of effect. Law of readiness. It is also called as the law of preparedness. This law states that learning can only take place when a student is ready to learn. According to Thorndike, maturity and interest are essential for readiness. Therefore, before imparting training to a sports person, it is essential to keep him or her ready through motivation. Exercise. The law implies that one learns by doing and one cannot learn a skill, for instance, by watching others. The more a person practices something, the better he or she is able to retain that knowledge. It is stated that those things most often repeated are best remembered. That is why sportspersons need persistent exercise. Law of effect. This law is directly related to success and failure. Learning is strengthened when associated with a satisfying feeling. If it is unpleasant, sportsperson will try to avoid it. Learning occurs when it results in satisfaction and sportsperson derives pleasure out of it. Hence, a physical education teacher should use the law of learning on the players with proper care. Secondary laws of learning. There are some secondary laws of learning or subordinate laws which are following. According to the law of contiguity or association, one condition may match with various conditions. For example, when we think about the Olympic Games, we are reminded of de Coubertin or Greece immediately. Law of attitude states that it's your attitude, not your aptitude, that determines your altitude. Thorndike's law of belongingness states that reward or punishment to be maximally effective must be relevant to the situation. Law of similarity states that the learner reacts on the basis of his experiences in a way that he had already done in similar situation. For example, a long jumper learns triple jump easily because a triple jump is similar to long jump. Law of primacy states that the first impression is the last impression. If the methods are effective, players are likely to learn properly and quickly. To the law of recency, the things that are learnt recently remain fresh in our memory. Reviews, warm-ups and similar activities are all based on the principle that the more recent the exercise, the more effective the performance. The law of contrast states that if we learn an activity properly, we can learn the opposite activity quickly and easily. Learning. It occurs when learning in one context impacts on performance in another context. Learning basic skills such as running, jumping, etc. helps a child to learn athletic event later in his life. According to Alexander and Murphy, the process of using knowledge or skills acquired in one context to new context is called transfer of learning. Transfer of learning. There are different types of transfer of training. Some of them are discussed here. When learning in one situation facilitates learning in another situation, it is known as positive transfer. For example, the players of basketball find it easier to perform well in handball. Negative transfer occurs when having learnt one skill makes learning of second skill more difficult. For example, a squash player who takes up tennis may find it difficult to learn to not use their wrist during shots. In applicational transfer, the previous learning is applied successfully to life situations of life, leading to improvement. Bilateral transfer is the transfer of learning or performance from one side of the body after training to the other. For example, a change in the right foot performance as a result of left foot training. Proactive transfer is when a previously learned skill influences on the way that a new skill is learnt. For example, having learned the forehand drive in tennis, the action is then modified to the forehand with topspin. Retroactive transfer is when a newly learned skill influences a previously learned skill. For example, the acquisition of a successful tennis serve may influence the previously learned over arm throw used in cricket. Affecting transfer of learning. If a learner has a strong will, he or she will learn more. The learner's intelligence plays a vital role in the transfer of learning. The personal achievement has a positive effect on the transfer of learning. The identical elements are helpful in the transfer of training. During training, emotions are often stronger and most troublesome and hurt performance. So concept, type and controlling of emotion to be studied in the next slide. Concept, type and controlling of emotions. The word emotion is derived from French word émouvoir, that means to stir up, to agitate or excite. According to David G. Mayers, human emotion involves psychological arousal, expressive behavior and conscious experience. Emotion is any strong feeling such as of love, anger, fear, etc. In short, emotion should be under control for better performance in sports. Emotions. According to William McDougall, there are following types of emotions: amusement, anger, appetite, creativeness, disgust, distress, fear, feeling of ownership, loneliness, lust, negative self-feeling, positive self-feeling, tender emotion, wonder. Of controlling emotions. Emotion play an important role in the sports. If there is appropriate control over emotions, the emotional energy may be utilized for better performance. Sportsperson can control emotions by using following methods. Deep breathing is said to cool the mind and emotions. Studies suggest that mindfulness meditation can help to regulate the emotions. Sportsperson can introspect themselves in the stages of different emotions. He or she can avoid situations that trigger negative emotions. If you are under emotions, start doing exercises to feel more energetic, calm, etc. Self-coaching technique is a way for athletes to look at any situation in a positive light. Test yourself. The period following the onset of puberty, during which a young person develops from a child into an adult, is called A. Infant, B. Childhood, C. Adolescence, and D. Adulthood. Answer is adolescence. Explanation. The term adolescence typically refers to the period between ages 12 and 19. It is a stage of complex changes. Many physical changes take place spontaneously. The height, weight, bones, and other organs begin to mature. The ability to criticize and take decisions are developed. They try to understand and to solve complex issues. Let us summarize this chapter. The word psychology comes from two specific Greek words, psyche, which means soul, and logia, which means the study of. Sports psychology can enhance physiological capacities such as strength, speed, and flexibility, etc. There are physical, social, emotional, spiritual, and intellectual dimensions to individual growth and development. Infancy is the stage from birth to the end of 2 years of age. Childhood begins from 3rd year and ends by the end of 12th year. The term adolescence typically refers to the period between ages 12 and 19. Emotion play an important role in the sports. If there is appropriate control over emotions, the emotional energy may be utilized for better performance.